Welcome to Timber&Terra. I'm Glenn, and this is an introduction recorded after the fact. I'm almost done this project, this particular video, and I realized, reviewing the video footage that I had, that the intro that I thought I recorded did not, so this is it. So what we're going to do in this video is this trench that you see, I will dig. I do end up with some challenges on the other end of it. I actually have an inspection scheduled for today. The guy from the electric company is going to come and inspect the trench. He's going to hopefully tell me that that issue down there is a non-issue. And the other thing I do is we did have some rain, and the last video I put in that French drain there, which takes flow from the culvert and the main drain from this whole field, which starts where that rock is, that big rock, and then a bunch of rocks there. So I have some footage of that. We'll go over that first of all, and then dig this trench and put in the vault at the other end near that pole. So we've got about an inch of rain in the last 12 hours or so. There's plenty of runoff there from the field going through the culvert and into this reworked ditch. So the water here is mostly flowing underneath the rocks. You can see it like on occasion there. A little bit there and there. Then it goes into this French drain. The actual conduit is probably right about here. So it goes underneath us right here. So the water is running over top of that and into this French drain. No indication that the water was ever on top of here. Go down to the end. And we have a good amount of flow coming through the rocks and harmlessly into the swamp. Well, it's the next day. Just about finished the next, well, the last 500 feet of trench. Relatively easy digging, a little bit of water down there, but surprisingly dry here when I thought it was going to be a lot wetter. So regarding the pole, the power company replaced this, and their policy is before attaching any underground service, whether it be primary or secondary, if a pole is older than 30 years, they replace it. And the reason is to replace a pole in the future that has underground service connected to it is a lot more expensive, a lot more time consuming. So they, even though there's no particular problem with the pole, it was just old, they figure with a new pole they won't have to worry about it for, you know, more than 30 years. So they just don't have to deal with having to replace a pole that has underground service connected to it. The bottom of the vault level determined. Now we need to find out where I can duplicate that same level somewhere off here and establish the fall. About 8 inches right there of fall. So that's one option. That's the furthest one. If I can find something in here, this would be a bit closer. I think that other area is the best bet, because basically right there is about level. Well, the hole is dug, ready for some drain rock, as well as this ditch. I was a bit too aggressive basically from here down in my slope, so what I'm going to have to do is fill in here where the water is. Well, that wasn't the most graceful, but it worked, and it did allow me actually to have two piles. One small one there, and then the bigger one there. So to walk less when we put together the conduit line. So the only trenching, the only excavator work I have left to do is that little trench between the foam pole and the vault. We'll finish that up, install the elbow, and then the vault and the conduit. Well, it is the next day, so we're able to get this drain line in, and it's actually working. So whatever water source is dumping into that hole for the vault is still running. My intent here, because I had a lot more rock than I needed just for the base there of the vault, I thought I was going to make a French drain here. That did not work out because I overdug significantly about halfway down, estimating the fall, because I only had about 10 inches of fall total from there to there, and I took too much of it there, so I had to fill in so that I had a sort of even, gentle downward slope rather than a big dip. I could have used the native soil to fill underneath, but it would have been a pain in the butt, as wet and soupy as it was. So I wasted my my drain rock with that. It'll probably still act a little bit of a French drain, but I'm not going to put any fabric in. If there are some voids in there that some groundwater can make its way into the swamp, that's fine. So before I leave the area here, the excavator, I'll backfill that just with the topsoil that's around here, because that's pretty shallow as it is. So the next thing we turn to is a couple trenches. I have a little bit of dirt to remove here, because if you recall from the other vaults, I need to sort of slope this up so it comes underneath the footing here. And it's sort of the same here, that 10 feet or so from the pole where that bracket is into here. I'll have to finagle that elbow and probably something less than a 10-foot section of conduit. So ideally, I'd like that water to drain underneath here and out that drain into the swamp. I'm not sure that's going to happen. It's not required. It wasn't mentioned anywhere in the standard that the trench has to have a drain to it. But the other thing is I'm limited on rock, because in order for that to happen, I really need to have rock in there. So with just a couple scoops of the shovel, I was able to connect that to the rock underneath. So before I get too crazy with digging, glad I took this bracket off ahead of time, because I sort of nicked this. I'm not sure why they just put one in there. They might put the other one in later, or maybe that's all they do. I just wanted to see how this elbow is going to lay in here. My direction was to basically use this bracket as a guide, so it should stick like that. So obviously I filled in a lot more than I need to. Or I've taken out more than I need to. So I'll shovel stuff back in. I want to come in a bit this way anyhow, so I'll take some from the bank with the shovel and make it set. To get it a bit deeper, I probably can cheat it just a little bit this way, but not too much, because they still got to go up the pole with the conduit. Alright, some shovel work. So I positioned the elbow so it's a little bit deeper. I went that way just a bit, but it should be, they can cheat that conduit and bend it up as they need to be parallel with the pole. The poles out here are pretty simple, no cable, no nothing fancy. Hot wire on top, that's 7200 volts, neutral. And you can see a ground wire connected to the neutral. That goes into a ground rod that the power company put in when they placed the pole. And below that is the telephone wire. There's only probably, I think, 6 or 7 houses that way that the phone wire serves. Alright, well now I think is a good time to put in the vault and then see how to place the conduit, because the way this is set, it's only about 2 feet, maybe 28 inches below grade, but I don't have room to go deeper and then back up again, so it's just going to stay at that depth into the vault. it's bottomed out, I can feel the metal elbow basically flush with the little ring that's inside here. So this soil right around here next to the road and the pole is sandy. I think a couple reasons for that. One is a lot of this is probably just winter sand when they sand the roads in the winter time that gets pushed off with the plow. So I think that's a lot of it, and the section of road right up there has washed out at least twice, maybe three times since we've lived here, significantly, where it washed a lot of the road sand and gravel off to the edge here. So some of it's probably left over from those washouts. So I don't think I'm going to need to sort of line the conduit trench, this tiny little trench here, with sand like I am further up when it's more native soil with bigger rocks. So I'll give that a chance to set up. Then I will throw some more dirt in here, pack around it manually with my feet and a shovel, and backfill it. Well, while this is draining, I'll take the pea stone and sort of ramp it up as a good base for the conduit to sort of slide in underneath the vault. So even before that leading edge of water gets here, you can see that this is still draining. I just made sure there was actually almost a little bit of a swale right there, a natural one, so I just cleared the vegetation and maybe scooped out 2 or 3 inches of dirt to make sure it had a clear path from here to there. So we're done for the day. That's all spread out. we've put in sand, we meaning my wife and I. It does work a lot quicker when there's someone in the trench spreading it out and someone dumping it. I'm not going to film doing this because I did that a fair amount, I think the last video or 2 videos ago. So we've probably got about a third of this 500-foot stretch lined with sand, and probably bring it back again when I'm ready to lay in the PVC. It is another day. In fact, this day is almost done because I get out of work and I'm here to finish up a segment of this project. You can see there we probably have that other same foot of water returned. You can see water running there. So what's happening is this water level is the same as the drain pipe that we put in there. So the water is going through the little bit of sand, through that the pea stone that we put in, and into the drain. So that little bit of flow we saw coming into here, plus whatever groundwater might be coming through here, is coming out over there. So we can see about that same amount of dribble coming out there. Still, so that's just a constant. So this here is still pretty moist, still pretty wet. You can see some of the tips have started to dry out, but as far as the actual ground, it's still pretty moist. We have another stretch of dry weather. It's really been a dry fall compared to the summer. So when this dries out a bit more and I backfill this, I hope I have the chance to make this look a little bit neater. I think I will put some annual ryegrass down, which sprouts very quickly, to give it some green look, as well as a little bit of erosion control before winter sets in. But the real project for now is to dump this conduit in the trench. So I'm going to start from the other end. I probably left 15 feet or so short because I just didn't know when I put this in the trench how far it's going to come to the vault. I believe that this will end up quite a bit closer to the vault than it looks like it is now when I dump that in. The other thing I don't really know is what's going to happen with the conduit. Is it going to float on the water or is it going to sink? I'm thinking with this long stretch of water it might float. Up there where there might be bits of puddles, then I think it'll just sink. If it does float here, then I'll just put a little bit of sand in one area to push it down before I have it inspected. And one thing that was not really mentioned in the standard, never mentioned by the engineer that I'm working with, is water in the trench. Never said it was an issue. Not really concerned about it. The biggest thing that he was concerned about was depth. I think in part because that's the issue they have with most people making the installation, is they try to cheat on the depth. So I'm thinking if I get the depth okay, either way, I don't think the moisture is going to be an issue, because you backfill it, it's just going to end up being moist dirt. It's not going to be a puddle of water in there anymore. So up here I left it short as well, but this is going to go in here. So in fact, last time when I put the first end in, it actually sucked that way away. So I have 2 lengths here that I'll put in afterwards. I learned last time that there's no way for me to try to pull that into the vault. I'll leave that be, and then I'll just connect the pipes and portions thereof to make it the 6 inches into the vault that I'm required. there's a good chance that this will end up in the water, or at least easily get some dirt in. So I'm gonna hopefully make this watertight with this. This is that tile tape used for that corrugated. Gosh, I'm not off to a good start. Used for that corrugated pipe that comes in a coil for drainage, tile drainage. This stuff does rip. I should have had a knife with me, but it rips hard. I guess in part because it's so wide, it probably actually is about the same strength as electrical tape if it was the same width. Well, I think that's going to float. I'm thinking I have probably just over 10 feet between the end of that and the vault. So let's cement a piece in there, at least get it up into dry ground, and then if I need a stud piece, I'll put that in. So I'm going to walk back up the trench, make sure there's no rocks that have fallen in. Like you can see here where the conduit's hugging the inside of that corner. I'll move that away so we have that that sort of 4-inch buffer that's not supposed to have anything bigger than 1 inch in it. Well, as it turns out, I did have a stub piece left over with the bell end. I do have a coupling if I needed it, but this makes it easy. I will go back and get the shovel, and some soil has fallen down in there, which is what that conduit's resting on now. That really should be diving below water. At the middle of that, it should be probably 8 to 12 inches below the surface of the water. So this sticks in quite a bit more than the 6 inches, but that's good because when that settles down, that will suck in. I have that one there. I think I already cut it off. I'll probably just leave that one coming from the pole. All right, so all the pipes together. I will cut a little bit of that off. It needs to go in 6 inches. The other ones I've left a little bit longer because you can always cut them shorter. I will finagle this a bit better because you can see now that the pipe is off the ground there by probably 4 or 5 inches. So I'll take a shovel and just sort of make that so it lays better on the ground. I did walk along that, centered the conduit in the trench the entire way. The only issue with the falling debris really was at the other end. Then I'll take a shovel down and take care of that. Then we are ready for inspection. So we'll come back when that is done. Well, the electrical inspector was here. Or not really the inspector, he's an engineer from the electric service provider. Inspected the trench and the vaults, and he said I'm good to go. Water in the bottom of this trench. He didn't mention anything about it. Generally he was pleased. You know, he said, oh, thanks for going by the book, or going by the specs. I didn't know I had a choice. All right, so my challenge here is what I want to make sure I do. I'm going to start bringing sand down from the pile up there by the tractor. And one of the first spots I'm going to put it is here. I want to make sure that the conduit is centered in the trench, not off to the side like it is now. So it looks like it's hugging the corner a little bit here, but I didn't see the video, obviously. I'm guessing there was enough sand between the bank and there to provide the cushion necessary. So this, when the water level rises any higher than it was, should drain out through that drain over there. So my plan here is I will backfill this. Hopefully this forces the water that away, drain, and then I'll slowly fill it this way to hopefully drain this water rather than making a mud pile. Hopefully you can make out on camera the water running into the rocks there. And I'll show you where it comes out. Well, that seemed to work out okay. Now we have a dry trench. Only because the level of this is above the level of the drain inside there. But it's working as it should. So before I leave this area, I'm basically going to turn the excavator around, and that's going to be my method through the trench to fill it. Obviously not going to need as much sand, but the same method. Put a bucket or two in the trench and then spread it out with the excavator. That worked well when I was laying the bed of sand to lay the conduit on top of. But before I leave here, I'll backfill the rest of this. I know I'm going to have some extra dirt because I basically have a bunch of sand there and a little more over there. Probably I think it's going to be almost 2 full truckloads of sand just in this trench, maybe more, so at least 30 yards. So theoretically I should have 30 yards of material here left over, which is good because I'd really like to raise this up just a little bit so that it's a bit higher than the swamp level is in there, because right now this is really squishy, really soft during wet weather. It is a nice, bright, sunny, cool fall day. We got a little bit of rain last night, 3/8 of an inch from my meter, and we have some more water in our trench. A little bit puzzled as to why this is not draining through the sand and into the drain here. I guess it doesn't matter in the end. Now is the time to sort of fill this in, so I'm just going to use the bulldozer like I did last time and angle it and just sort of windrow it in. I should have some extra material because of all the sand I put in here. And hopefully this water will just come out. If this was sand I was putting in here, it would just turn into mush. But I'm thinking with the heavy clay, it's not going to absorb water rapidly. So it should fall in there almost like a rock and then just displace the water. That's my hope. Reality sometimes has different ideas. But a good part of the trench here is nice and dry. It's just the typical trouble spots up there and this big one here, which is the low point of the entire trench. now is basically filled in. I was shooting for a foot below the final grade, which is what they want, that danger tape, you know, electrical lines buried below. Some areas like here, it would be almost 2 feet. But I think on average, I'm pretty good. So I'll put the tape down. Then this side over here had the topsoil. That side was sort of just the clay fill. But before I plow this over, I need to pick up all these rocks. And there's a big pile there of rocks that I need to pick up with the excavator. I'm probably not going to do that right off because I'll put those in my trailer and haul them off somewhere. These here, which are more or less handleable, I'll probably put just beyond the excavator in that sort of rock receiving area just before the inlet of the culvert. It's a 1,000-foot roll, and I made it, except for, I guess, 10 feet. Glad I had another one, but it's a lot of money to pay just for 10 feet. I think this roll costs about $45. Well, with lots of passes of the dozer, Lots of different pushing directions, angles, a little bit of learning. This is done. But what I want to know is, where's the extra 30 yards of material I should have? Because I had at least 30 yards of sand that I put in the trench. So when I filled the trench back up, I should have that much extra material, but I just don't see it. Interesting. So more work to do. A lot of it is just waiting for stuff to dry out, like around here. It's really soft there. Some handwork here around the vault. So that will do it for this phase of this project. The last phase, the last video of this series is going to be sucking the pull cord through the conduit on the two 500-foot lengths and putting in the pedestal, which will be where the secondary is from the transformer and will be the meter. So the pedestal is basically a wooden signpost, if you will, with the meters on it, and then the conduit for that. So thanks for sticking around for this one. I appreciate you watching.